Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network. And we are back to discuss a new movie in theaters currently. It is called Black Bag. It is directed by Steven Soderbergh. Is it also written by Steven Soderbergh? It's written by David Koepp. It's got a great cast starring Michael Fassbender, Cate Blanchett, Tom Burke, Marisa Abela, Regé-Jean Page, and Naomie Harris, as well as Pierce Brosnan. I am one of your hosts for this episode and this review and this discussion. My name is Darian Zach. I am joined by Zach Miller.
How's it going?
I'm excited to talk about this one. This is, as of this recording, it is March 18th. In the first quarter of the year in theaters, there's usually not a lot to discuss that gets the heart pumping, at least for me. There's usually not a lot. I haven't seen too much this year that I've really enjoyed thus far. One of them days was the big standout to me in January. I didn't see anything in February that was overwhelming, and this is going to be the second Soderbergh movie reviewed on this channel. You reviewed the first one with Sean Villa, who's producing this episode. Thank you, Sean. It was Presence, and then now he has Black Bag. So 2 movies coming out within a 3-month period, maybe even obviously less than that. So your broad thoughts, Zach, on Black Bag. What did you think, especially in comparison to his first directorial effort this year?
It was a big improvement from Presence. We lost our review by the Presence. We're convinced. Sean and I were convinced that it was not a well-developed movie. It was a little simple, very diluted for what it could have been. Sean also convinced me I had a much higher score at first, and then he brought me down. He humbled me. So basically, but I think this movie, as opposed to Presence, is a lot sharper. It's interesting that he did both of those movies around the same time. So I feel like he definitely put a lot more of his energy into this one because it's more demanding. There's a bigger cast. It's an action thriller espionage film. And it's in London too. So it's interesting. He has a change from New Jersey to London in his locations. But Black Bag is a sharp spy thriller. It doesn't do anything necessarily groundbreaking, but it is very smart and savvy, and it's got a lot of charm to it. Fassbender and Cate Blanchett are really interesting characters. I actually really felt like this was one of the better ensemble balanced pieces recently, aside from like Dune, but Dune was a massive movie compared to this. So I think that Soderbergh did a really good job balancing the characters and just letting us into their world. And I felt pretty immersed the whole time. And, spy movies are kind of, fading away a little bit aside from the James Bond franchise. And it's really nice to see that there's a rekindling to it with movies outside of that franchise. I liked these Bond nods in a lot of this, especially Pierce Brosnan taking on the M role, and Fassbender has been rumored to be a Bond candidate, but I thought this was his Soderbergh's Bond movie.
There's another Bond candidate in this movie too.
Yeah,
Regé-Jean Page has been on a lot of people's wish lists for Bond. I agree with everything you said. The one thing I want to highlight is I'm looking at Soderbergh's IMDb page. This is just crazy. Since 2017, this guy has directed 10 movies and 3 television series all the way through. This dude does not stop working. Like, literally is just direct. And he keeps, like you were talking about how Presence was simple. This also is a simple story. It's a tight, like you said, it's a tight movie. It's an hour and 33-minute runtime. Presence was, let's see, that probably wasn't much. It was a little bit shorter, an hour and 24 minutes. But he likes to play in this wheelhouse a little bit, Soderbergh, with doing these simple kind of stories that can be relatable to other people. Like one that stands out to me in recent years that he did that I really enjoyed was Logan Lucky. Did you see Logan Lucky?
I love Logan Lucky.
Yeah, it's a really fun. It's essentially people say it's like the Hillbilly Oceans kind of movies, and he did all 3 of the Oceans films. He did Oceans 11, 12, and 13, the remakes, obviously, with George Clooney and Brad Pitt and Matt Damon and everybody. So he also does a good job of balancing ensembles. Obviously, he's been doing that for a number of years. For me, the biggest thing in this movie is the edit, which obviously, like we said, it's a really good, tight movie. But to me, the acting, especially between the sort of sextet of our six leads essentially in the movie. Pierce Brosnan also does a great job in support. Philip, the initial character, I'm finding out that has the first scene with Michael Fassbender. He's another Skarsgård. We have another Skarsgård that's talented. He has a good little bit role. But the standouts, obviously, the main players: Michael Fassbender, Cate Blanchett, Tom Burke, Marisa Abela, Regé-Jean Page, and Naomie Harris. I love the setup with these characters that we get.
Yeah.
That opening,
dinner.
The dinner scene is just, and we're going to try not to spoil a lot of this movie because there's not a lot of runtime, and we don't want to reveal some of the, in a spy movie, there's secrets that obviously get unturned and flipped. So we don't want to reveal a lot of spoilers in this. But that's the key to the whole movie is that dinner scene.
Yeah. So the whole setup in the beginning is Fassbender is trying to figure out who leaked a device where that it would be extremely weaponized for another country. And what is, like, the black bag is the agency they're in, but what is the
black bag is essentially, I don't know, is it the name of the agency?
Because they're like, oh, you're going to black bag, like that's the agency.
Well, no, I know,
building.
because I know that the one thing is they say the whole thing is based on trust and relationships and lying.
Yes.
And every time that they're saying, oh, like, where are you going? They could just say black bag. And it's like, you can't ask any more questions at the end of the conversation. It's something on work. It's something on business within this agency which they all work for. But I forget the name of the actual device. Severus. That's what it is. It's called Severus. And it's this weapon that you were just discussing, Zach. And Fassbender is one of the best agents, if not the best agent to ever be a member of this agency. He's married to another agent. Catherine St. Jean is the great character name, played by Cate Blanchett. And then we have Marisa Abela's characters with Tom Burke, and Regé-Jean Page is dating the therapist, the agency's therapist, played by Naomie Harris. So you have a lot of great players in this. Fassbender, to me, like, this wanted me to, like, I was never not on the train of him being Bond, but like he was always a candidate for me. I always really liked Tom Hiddleston potentially as Bond for me, but this was maybe his audition, and I thought he was so good in this movie. So good in this movie. And it's nice to see after, I mean, he obviously had The Killer, I think it was last year or 2023. I forget what year it was.
23, I think.
Yeah.
23.
But before that, it had been like years since we had seen Fassbender in anything. And he was like getting a lot of movies, like the Taika Waititi movie, Next Goal Wins, that was delayed for like years.
Yeah.
And then that came out and that was like a bust. But for me, getting to see him play in this role and his relationship with Blanchett and the other characters was prime for me. How did you feel about his performance in this movie?
Oh, it's so good. He just, like, this expanded on a lot of what I was hoping from with The Killer. I think The Killer was a little too dialed back with revealing the intensity of the character. They built a great character in The Killer for just that specific story. They went into a little bit of his background and things before and after, but this one, they do a better job at sharpening that, and his meticulousness and his intensity. At the dinner scene, he invites all of them. This is not really a spoiler. I'm not going to say anything else. But at the first dinner scene, he invites all of these people to figure out if they will respond to being the mole in the agency. And then he goes into this story, or they go into this story about him. And they're like, he even ratted out his own father in the agency years prior. So they know that this man is going to go to lengths to rat out anybody, which is great for us too, because he's not willing to put any relationship over his duty, which I thought was great.
I think it's great to have that as a reveal in the writing rather than having to show us his backstory or show the scene in which that happened. Like, just getting the reveal from people that are his most his closest friends, if you want to consider it that. And they have a really messed up way of playing into their intuition, or his way of kind of finding the bar of validity within the friend group, right? And what that all means. He wants to play a game. They play games at every dinner that they have, apparently, and this is one where they all decide it's a resolution for the person next to them, and they're essentially having the person reveal the biggest problem within all of them, the biggest flaw within all of them.
It's like
and
mudslinging at this point.
It's just such a well constructed scene, and I think the writing is so strong in this. David Koepp wrote the script. He actually wrote Presence too. I don't know if the script was like a good or a bad thing. How did you feel about the script for that movie?
It was no good.
Not good.
No good.
He's done some other Soderbergh movies too. He did Kimmy.
I like Kimmy. I thought so. The Presence was a void of a script. You know, like it was very underdeveloped. You know, this one is it's crazy. It seemed polar opposite to Black Bag because genre and everything. Like this one just feels like nail and tooth planned out. Presence maybe they had creative differences and someone took charge on one and it didn't pan out.
Well, so he also did the original story and screenplay for the first Mission Impossible, and this is and this has like some adjacent kind of theming. You know what I mean? Like things in terms of just working within the spy genre. It might be something he feels more comfortable with than doing something that is more horror like Presence was.
I like that because the first Mission Impossible. You said the first Mission?
Yes.
Okay, so the first one it's more grounded. It's grounded and it's more about the traitor in the situation. So that's kind of the undertone through line for this whole movie. Who is the traitor? Who has an ill temper that might give up a detail? Like who might have a reaction and I can get from them to get some information and that kind of thing. He's like George Fassbender is blackmailing people. He's kind of like using information against people, and then he just has strategy. He has well-planned moves in every situation. He's super calculated.
Yeah,
it's great.
I also love that this whole movie takes place within a week's time, and it feels like it's so much more than that, and also such little time. And they play it out with the titles across the screen. It's a really good type movie that you don't see things like this as much anymore in the theaters. That's an unfortunate reality of this. We were talking before we started recording. We both thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It's only made, I think, about $8.5 million against anywhere from a $50 to a $60 million budget. And critics are loving this movie. It has 97% on Rotten Tomatoes, and every review I've seen for this movie has at least lauded it as something that you could rent if you're going to put it on the scale of like rent, stream, buy, however. But like, everyone's really enjoying this movie. So it's a shame that like not a lot of people are going to the theater to see something like this, especially with Fassbender and Blanchett sort of as the leads. You know what I mean?
I don't know if that's like a marketing problem or if that's the runtime. You know, like maybe some people are just like, I don't want to spend money on something that's an hour and a half, even though it's getting reviewed well. Or a lot of people, it's all very subjective to each person, but like they evaluate movies on, you know, is that a streamer movie or is that a movie if they don't have A-list like us, you know, like there's like, is it worth making the trip because it costs so much to go to the movies? It could be that, could be the cost of it, but still it is worth seeing in a theater. I got this like early access day with like a Dolby and I was like, oh, cool. And I didn't expect to see it in Dolby, but it was good in Dolby. You don't have to see it in Dolby, but it was another layer to it. And yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. There's a lot of like other jabs in the spy genre outside of Mission Impossible that are poor jabs and additions to that genre, but this is not. This is pretty sharp. Addition.
Yes, I agree. It's not like it's a grounded movie for sure. It definitely feels like it. I wanted to ask you the other four characters that kind of play around the marriage of George and Catherine. It is, right? I just said Catherine. Yeah. Who was the standout to you? I mean, I think they're all really good in this movie. But if there's one that you could take away, like I can give my example first. I don't know if you agree with it. Marisa Abela's character, who I haven't seen in anything, but she was given a big opportunity last year to star in the Amy Winehouse biopic. And her big kind of breakout role was in HBO's Industry, which I haven't watched, but I've heard really good things about. Coming off of that and seeing what she does in this movie, I thought she was great. I thought her scene with all her scenes with Fassbender were really good, like great with the tension, whether it's the sexual tension between the characters, whether it's the physical imposition between the characters. She stood out to me. I also thought Regé-Jean Page. I haven't watched Bridgerton. I know Liz is like a big Bridgerton fan, but I never really understood the hype behind him. I had only seen him previously in the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and I mean, again, that's like a popcorn movie, but I thought he was fine in it. He was. I thought he did a really good job in the genre, and he also is a Brit, so I think playing along in terms of playing into his Britishness a little bit more might be something that helps him in movie roles and things like that. But Abela was the biggest standout to me. What about you?
Yeah, I really liked her with the charm and the humor that she added. Like, she's just incredibly feisty to him the whole time.
Spitfire, dude.
Yeah, especially the polygraph test that she does. She's just like throwing in dialogue and just trying to bite at him. And then there's the whole thing with the polygraph that he alludes to as well. I don't want to spoil for some people, but he's Fassbender is great, but I would also say Tom Burke stood out to me in the first like 45 minutes just because of his energy.
Yeah.
Especially the dinner scene. I haven't seen him in much either. He was in the Furiosa movie.
That's right. Yeah.
Realized. And
I think he was recast too. I think somebody else was supposed to be in that role, and then they dropped out, and he came in. So
yeah, he's great. I mean, he's kind of a newcomer from what I'm seeing on his IMDb. He's been in other big movies, but he really had a good presence there. Yeah. So I think that Tom Burke was really good. There was a lot of his moments and his cadence that you felt like he was completely going through that little mudslinging thing with the hotel scheme that George like kind of uses on him as dirt, and he is kind of a hothead. Regé-Jean Page is also a hothead. He's pretty impulsive and just kind of spits stuff out. And then I really like Naomie Harris and Everything, which I also thought was another Bond nod because she plays Moneypenny, and she's just kind of this stoic, like I'm always in control therapist too. And she's kind of got little pieces.
Her
on
scenes
people.
were great too. The individual scenes she has with Regé-Jean Page and Cate Blanchett.
And I also felt like I was expecting her to get cast to the side as like this simple therapist, like, oh yeah, she found out this one detail, it turned out to be big, but she was very much in the movie.
She was integral
with all of
the plot
them and intertwined with Cate and Regé-Jean Page and pretty much everybody. And then George, and then but there was a lot of suspicion amongst all of them that they set up in each of their different ways. And then George is just trying to figure out if these are just side plot of like treachery, or is this actually connected to the person who sold the device to the black market?
Yeah. Well, you were talking about, so before we started recording, we were discussing like, how do we want to talk about this movie? Because we both enjoy it so much. We don't want to reveal too much to the audience. And you're like, it's like a whodunit kind of movie. And it is. And I think about like, the remakes of the Murder on the Orient Express, and the Agatha Christie stories. And Agatha Christie is still like a name in terms of like, people know her stories and they get adapted all the time, and it's still based on that like IP, right? Like it's based on like these stories that came before it. And this, I think it's from the 70s, the original Murder on the Orient Express that did really well. And those movies like have done well at the box office. I don't know about the last one, but the first one initially did a great job, and it's IP driven, right? This is like a perfect example to me of like, maybe it's Soderbergh's trying to do like a Knives Out, like trying to do his own sort of version within this agency, and play on an interesting spin within that also of like Mr. and Mrs. Smith with George and Catherine. I just thought it was such a well done movie in terms of bringing together these elements of what works in the genre. Like you even thought like there's nods to Bond, there's nods to the Agatha Christie stuff, there's nods to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So I just really enjoyed this movie. It was one that I would recommend it to pretty much anybody. Like my audience was a bit older than me, but everybody seemed to really enjoy the movie afterwards. So I don't know if there's much more we can talk about really, because we don't want to spoil too much.
Yeah, you know, like kind of like we were saying, everything that is in the movie is stuff that has been done before. There's not like crazy stunts. They're not traveling to 10,000 countries and going to all these places and hacking the mainframe of a satellite. You know, like but I liked it for that. You know, like
the simplicity of it.
Yeah, the simplicity. It felt like a sandbox. Like, okay, they're in the parameters of these 6 characters. Find out who the rat is. Go get the buyer. That's pretty much it. And then, but it focuses on like, I love the old, like All the President's Men is not like this, but it focuses on the paranoia of like what's going on around us. Like the uncertainty in the spy genre is what defines the spy genre in its early infancy and that kind of thing. So there was a return to that in a way of like, who can we actually trust in that situation? It has a little bit of noir in that too. It is like things that, like, what lengths are you willing to go? Are you willing to sacrifice? Is George willing to sacrifice his wife if she is the rat? There's all these other situations. Like, is he willing to betray his best friend? He already betrayed his dad. What is he going to give up? And what are the lengths that he's going to go to? Is George involved in this somehow that they're not telling us that Soderbergh is keeping from? Like, there was just all these different avenues where, even though it's a simple movie, it's an hour and a half, but you present the information in a good, like, sharp plot structure, it's engaging every time. And it didn't have to be this Mission Impossible, you know? And both of those two things can coexist and be good in their own right. So I really like this movie for what it was, you know?
I agree.
It is one of the better movies of this year, I think, so far. There's only been a handful of standout ones. But yeah, we want to go into scores?
Yeah. You want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm coming in high on this one, but it was because it was really just it was one of those, maybe it's because I haven't seen a spy movie in the theater in a while. Like, I still like the last Mission Impossible movie, but like you talk about, it's like we're just kind of amping up and amping up and amping up. And it's not that I don't enjoy the big action sequences that we get. Tom Cruise is literally putting his life on the line for some of these things, and I still think it works well. But like you talked about, that first Mission Impossible movie, it's why I love the third Mission Impossible movie so much, the J.J. Abrams directed one with the late great Philip Seymour Hoffman. It just deals with character, and it deals with what are you going to do if you put these characters in the situation, kind of like what you just talked about. And I think Black Bag is very successful on all counts with that, and I was really impressed with the acting in this movie, the writing, the structure, the editing. So I'm going to give this movie a big score of a 9. I'm going to give Black Bag a 9.
Yeah, I'm going to be right there with you, basically. I'm going to give it like an 8.5. Just going back to the originality of it, I kind of, one thing that I wish was a little bit more involving was Pierce Brosnan. I wish he was a little bit more active in the role that Fassbender plays. He kind of just took on a big office role for the most part. But
he does cook in that scene, though.
He does cook. He has a couple good scenes, and there are some good standout performances by Marisa Abela. Tom Burke is also great. Cate Blanchett, she did Tar a couple of years ago, leading role, but she is still very engaging in this role. And, I don't want this movie to get a sequel, but if it did, I don't want it to, but there were engaging characters where people could be like, oh, this might deserve a sequel. I don't necessarily think that every movie deserves a sequel.
Yeah.
Actually, way less movies deserve sequels.
Yeah, this is a great self-contained story that you could just, like, it could be homage to other movies. You know what I mean? The same way that it plays on the tropes of the spy genre. But we obviously really enjoyed this movie. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you guys saw this movie and you checked it out and you guys enjoyed it as much as us, give this video a like. We highly, highly recommend you guys see this movie and see it in a theater. Let's get those numbers up. Let's try to support these smaller kind of movies, because these are the ones that we need to rebuild the industry we love so very much. You guys can subscribe to us here at the Culture Ray Media Network. We're covering a lot of television right now. This is our first movie we've done in a little bit, but we're talking about White Lotus. We're wrapping up our coverage on Severance. We just wrapped up our coverage on Invincible. We're covering Daredevil Born Again, but we also have other reviews upcoming for movies like Opus and Snow White. What else is coming out soon? There's a bunch of stuff coming out. I don't even know off the top of my head, but we're covering a lot of it. So just check it out on our channel. And you guys could also follow us on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. We're on TikTok. We're on Instagram. We are obviously on YouTube. We're on Threads. We're on Facebook. So you guys can check us out all there and share with your family and friends. We'd greatly appreciate it. Just signing off. I'm Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Zach Miller.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.